for joining this week for Mrs. Georgia O'Keeffe. She was born in 1887 and lived until 1986, and she was born in Wisconsin. Grab a parent or an adult and you can look at the progression of some of her work. Today we're going to be doing her red poppy number 6 that she painted in 1928. So she kind of took realistic objects and like zoomed in and almost gave them this abstract appearance. So we're going to be doing the red poppy. All right, so for the materials, it's white cardstock, and we're going to use oil pastels. We're using blacks, and we're using a lot of warm colors of reds and yellows and oranges, and a little bit of whites. I'm not going to worry about doing the background for time's sake. I'm just going to focus on looking at the shapes that we see in the flower. So we're going to start here in the middle, and I see a circle. So we're going to draw a circle, and you can kind of see that I could place probably either hand on both sides. So if we divide it up into 3, it's going to be about the size of my hand right there. So if you need someone to put some little guidelines of where it's going to be, you could do that. I'm kind of using a light hand right now to get it started. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are kind of across from each other like that. So let's draw 3 lines that are going to go through our circle. Like so. So I did a circle and I did 1 line, 2 line, 3 line. So now I've got these lines that are coming out of my circle. I'm going to make those a little bit thicker, okay? I don't want them to touch each other. I want them to stay in their little areas, because then we're going to make our petals from there. All right, so let's color in the middle. Okay, so we have our center colored in, and now I'm going to make this thicker on this side. Kind of like I'm doing a rectangle off of my circle, but I'm not giving it a clean line on the edge. All right, so a rectangle with not a straight edge. Okay, I can see a little red and blue in there, so I'm going to take my red oil pastel. We're going to kind of give a hint of red in there. And I can see some blue marks on the side of it. They're not on all of them, but they're on a few. So I can do blue, blue, and some blue. And I see some blue in the middle. So we've got the large circle, and we did our 3 lines to make 6 shapes coming off. And you can do the same thing with the blue. A circle with 3 lines to create the little spiral in the middle. Okay, now we're gonna add our red. So each of these is going to get its own petal, and these definitely overlap. The black ones don't touch, but these red ones are. They just kind of blend together. You can do like a petal here, petal there, that's gonna go off the paper. So it's just like 2 curved lines, and then I'm connecting them at the bottom. I'm gonna let that go off. It's okay that they overlap. 2 curved lines. So each of these black ones is getting the curve. Okay, so now we have our red poppy, and we're gonna start filling it in. Now if we look at it, I see a lot of yellows and oranges, so you can go ahead and put some of those in where you see those. So now let's color in our red. And I'm just gonna come around my black. It's okay if I overlap it a little bit. And I'm gonna come around my yellow, and I'm overlapping that a little bit. And you may have more than 1 red in your pack, so you can check that out to see but this is a water-soluble oil pastel. A regular oil pastel will work. Later though, we are gonna add water to this, and that will only work with a water-soluble oil pastel. But you can definitely just use what you have. I'm gonna put a little orange in there as well. These are all nice warm colors, are red, orange, and yellow. All right, so let's just work our way around, filling it in nice and solid. If there is some white space left, that's okay, because like I said, we're going to take the a brush with water, and it's gonna kind of be like watercolor, and we're going to blend this all together, make it nice and smooth. I even mixed in a little bit of white here. See this white highlight? So you can mix in white as well. But use the materials you have. If you just have red and yellow, then just use those. And be mindful, whatever surface you're working on, this I'll just clean up later. But you may need to have a sheet of paper underneath it to make for easy cleanup. Okay, so I'm just going back over some of my yellows. This is another shade of yellow, so you can just layer them on there. So that's just putting more yellows behind there. So maybe if you see a lot of holes in your whites, you could use yellows to kind of fill those in. Maybe white around the edge there to kind of give it this nice creamy look. All right, so there's the basis for our flower. So now I've got a brush. This is a round brush. For this application, you could use whatever you have handy. I'm gonna start in the center. You may wanna have a napkin, or here's an old smock. If you get too much water on there, you can kind of dab it off. So let's start in the center, kind of wake that up, and pull these colors out. Do you see how this black's blending together? Okay. So I did the black a little bit. I didn't go all the way to the edge yet. Let's go ahead and do the red, and then I'll come back and we'll pull the black into the red. And I'm only using water. This is the water soluble, so they're kind of blending together. All right, so you see how these are blended and really smooth. And this side you can still see the lines in it. Both of them look great. It's just a way for us to experiment with different mediums. Okay, so now let's come back to this black and let's get a little water on there, not too much. And I'm just gonna pull the black on top of the red. See how it's kind of feathering into there? Similar to what's going on here. So fill, and it's covering in those white spots. I'm just gonna pull it out like that. Now, if it gets too wet, then you may lose some of those lines, but just enough water. Okay, and if you want to go back in and do any finishing touches, you can. One thing I'm noticing is this has got a dark center, almost like a pupil looking at us. So you can go back in even after you've put water on there and add a little bit more if you'd like to. You can even get the colors on there. With the paper being a little bit wet, they'll really glide across there smoothly. So have fun experimenting with Mrs. Georgia O'Keeffe. And if you have time, if you're not doing this in community day or something, then feel free to do the background. You could take a blue and go around there, and she's got some white, and blend that together and make a beautiful background. And see, I've done this multiple times and they all look a little bit different. So if this isn't your favorite version, then do it again and keep practicing. That's what all the great artists do. They are practicing, experimenting. You could work on a half a sheet, do something a little bit smaller so that you can finish it in a shorter amount of time and still be able to kind of play with the materials and stuff. So have fun. Thanks for joining. One thing to note about the oil pastels, especially the water soluble, or if you use chalk, you're gonna need to set your medium, because if you rub your finger across it, then it could still bleed or smear. So you can get cheap hairspray like White Rain or something like that and just spray that and it will set it. You can also get like an artist grade finishing spray and do that, but the cheap hairspray will also work. So this one's been set already and it kind of gives it this nice a finished look. It's kind of matte in appearance. So if you've done a water soluble oil pastel or like a chalk pastel that smears, you'll just want to set it so that it doesn't move anymore.